Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Radio for Thursday, May 30th, 2024. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having an awesome week so far. We got Rey Mysterio on WrestleRant Radio here today from last week. So we talked prior to King and Queen of the Ring and the A&E special on Eddie Guerrero. So that's what I'm talking about in the interview when I say, oh, we got King and Queen of the Ring this weekend and the new A&E special on Eddie Guerrero. They already aired. But we have the interview today ahead of the article dropping on Bleacher Report tomorrow, talking about said Eddie Guerrero A&E special, his impact on the business, his legacy, Dominik Mysterio, Rey's daughter, and so much more. It's a really, really fun conversation. I've had the honor now of chatting with Rey about 3 or 4 times, and he's been awesome every single time. So you'll enjoy this interview as well. The video should also be up tomorrow on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/WrestleRant. Be sure to check it out. New episodes of WrestleRant Radio available every single Thursday on all your favorite podcast platforms. Rate the show, review the show, subscribe to the show. Never miss a new episode every single Thursday. So enjoy my exclusive interview with Rey Mysterio before my conversation with Mr. Marceau, breaking down all the latest in the world of wrestling. Graham Jason Matthews here with Bleacher Report. Very busy weekend ahead. New A&E Legends biography episode and Eddie Guerrero coming up on Sunday at 8 p.m. Before that, we got King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia this Saturday on Peacock, WWE's latest PLE. Today we're talking to Rey Mysterio, though, to talk about both events, the Eddie Guerrero doc coming up this weekend and the pay-per-view itself. Rey, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking the time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Like, just talking about this documentary coming up this weekend, obviously we've spoke ad nauseum about Eddie over the years and his legacy and what he leaves behind, everything he's accomplished. This doc is obviously going to kind of give us a new look at the Eddie Guerrero legacy in WWE and just wrestling in general in the last number of years. Speaking about it now in this doc in 2024, how do you think Eddie's legacy has grown in the last 20 years since his passing in 2005?
Well, I mean, I've been a witness that his spirit maintains alive, ever since he left us in 2005. So to be able to just hear the Eddie chants, to capture here and there videos or clips that he has done over the years in his career. And he had a really short time in WWE. Like, I can't even imagine Eddie still being here and the growth that he would have had over the past 20 years. Incredible, but overall, I love that his spirit is still alive and will maintain alive forever.
How do you think he would have fit into today's WWE? Talk about that. I mean, I don't know if he would still be wrestling full time, obviously, but maybe like the occasional part-time thing, or maybe just being a coach of the PC. But I just feel like with today's wrestling style compared to 20, 25, 30 years ago, obviously you're still going strong, so you're a testament to that. But just talk about where you think he would have fit in today's landscape of wrestling.
To me, from the moment I saw Eddie for the first time, as a fan, was roughly early 90s in Tijuana and wrestling by my uncle's side, and have seen his growth since the early 90s up until 2005 when he left us. Eddie, to me, was like a chameleon. He can adapt to every single way that he needed to adapt. He just had that perfection within him to make it work as a good guy, as a bad guy, to play the role of Dominik's biological father, all of these scenarios that that were put in front of him and that he knew how to work. I think now Eddie would definitely adapted to this style. And not only that, just the knowledge that he would have been able to pass on to the superstars of today. That's what I would have really have loved.
I mean, you talk about some of your best matches too. I mean, people obviously remember like the Halloween Havoc match that you guys had. I think a lot of people regard that as being your best. People like, so I'm 28, so I kind of grew up in the mid 2000s range of like the Eddie feud that you guys had in like the mid 2000s in WWE. I think that's what people remember the most. I know you were asked about at the Mania junket as far as, if you knew back then what Dominik was capable of now, would you have wanted to give up custody of Dominik in that match at SummerSlam in 05? I mean, do you still get asked about that match to this day as far as like people still think that it's real to this day that Eddie was Dominik's biological father? It's been 20 years, right? And that match has really stood the test of time. It's crazy.
I think now, more than anything, it's because a lot of the fans now understand how wrestling works and the storylines that are behind it. But a couple of years back, I would get asked that a lot. To be able to see Dominik's growth in the past 3 years has been awesome. Every now and then, my mind will just wander off and start thinking, what would if Eddie would still be here now, how would this all been interacted and intertwined in order to give the fans something different? Playing off of the custody up until now, his turn, him being by Eddie's side, like, and my mind just drifts off, man, crazy, which I would have really enjoyed. But overall, talking about the match that I feel put me on the line was Halloween Havoc 97. What year are you from?
I started watching in like 2008, so that was before my time. But obviously, I've gone back and watched it. It's an amazing match.
Yeah, but you were born in 90.
Oh, 95.
95. Okay, yeah. Dom is from 97.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I remember Dom was born in April, and in October I had the Halloween Havoc match.
Yeah.
And if you look close enough, I've talked about this before. In the back of that Phantom outfit, it's spray painted, but it says Dominik on the side, paying a little tribute to my son. But overall, I have always believed that match was the match that put me on the map worldwide. A lot of people knew who Rey Mysterio was, but after that match, that really stood out in my career. And for that, I have to thank Eddie.
All these years later, how much of Eddie do you see in your son Dominik as far as the on-screen character? He's his own individual, obviously, but aside from the haircut, which is very Eddie-esque from the early 2000s, how much of heel Eddie do you see in Dominik today?
Yeah, I see a lot of like bits and pieces here and there, even just sudden movements that he does or pictures that I see. And then I compare him to a picture that I have of Eddie, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I was talking about this earlier, but I tell my wife, I said, did you really cheat with me with Eddie? Because, oh my God, look at your son here and look at him. Look at Eddie here.
Yeah.
She always gives me, she goes, yeah, I did. And I didn't tell you. No, but I really enjoy like seeing that because Eddie, he represents so much, not only to me, but to my entire family, to Dominik. I know Dominik, I would catch him watching Eddie videos constantly when he was breaking in and trying to learn, the frog splash when he did it for the first time at a Survivor Series when I faced Brock.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time he did a frog splash. And I remember when he was asked, hey, can you do the frog splash? Yeah, I can. Then afterwards, I asked him, I said, you've done it before? He goes, no. So things like that, and to see his growth now and how he does it nowadays, I truly enjoy it. And I have a lot to thank Eddie for.
That's awesome. Did you and Angie recently celebrate an anniversary, or have you guys just... Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I had seen that online. Congratulations on that. That's fantastic.
May 11th, we 28 years married and 32 years together. I'm sorry, 34 years together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I mean, just going back to Dominik, I mean, the similarities and not just him as a character, but like some of the feuds, obviously, like the ongoing on and off feud that you guys have had in the last 2 years with Dominik and the story that you guys have had going, the Eddie Guerrero, kind of the same thing back in 2005 with the way that he betrayed you and it turned into this great storyline. Dominik, same thing. Someone posted recently the similarities between that, but Carlito, Santos, Batista, Ray, what is it with all these people betraying you? I know you're just so goddamn likable, but why do these people keep betraying you, Ray? Does it become a problem is it like an internal issue? What's going on there?
I'm too friendly with people, and
Okay.
because I don't know how to get mad,
Yep.
and I can't be the bad guy, even at home. And my wife sometimes tells me that, like, you have to show a little bit more attitude. I'm just so chill. I'm so relaxed. I can't change that character that I've been for so many years, my whole life. So I always end up trusting the wrong people. That's my problem. I mean, maybe one day I'll just snap and go crazy.
At this point, you can't even trust your own son. It's crazy. I mean, even before the betrayal happened, I don't know if you've ever seen the post before, but there was like a tweet from like 2012. It was promoting like WWE 12 or something like that. You're like, oh, I'm going to go beat my son in the game. And obviously you meant like playing the game. People thought you meant like abuse or something like that. So people kind of take it back to that. Have you seen that post before or not?
No, I haven't. I got to check that out. I haven't. I'm sure somebody would have shown it to me, and I can't believe nobody has.
Yeah, I guess not. That's crazy. It was on Twitter. It went viral a while ago, but maybe the next junket, if you were there, I'll definitely have to show you in person.
Please,
but it's pretty funny. That would be fantastic. But it's crazy to see how much has progressed in your career with him, and you've helped him so much over the last number of years. I know when we talked a number of years ago, you mentioned that was like your number one goal, kind of getting him to that next level. I would have never imagined it would have been as a bad guy. He has certainly excelled at that role as one of the most hated people in the entire company, which is great to see. With that being done, like what more would you like to do? Elevating him and just your own career in general, now that you're in the Hall of Fame too.
I just want to make this point clear that I mean, I help my son to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Obviously, because he's my son and the introduction into the business. And obviously the comparisons were made. But, I think the only thing I probably helped him with is his first match, which I was right there by his corner, and becoming the first father and son tag team champions. After that, everything he's probably done on his own and gotten advice from other people that has not been his father. And to me, as a father, that makes me feel a large amount of pride, because he's cutting his own path now. He's not in my footsteps. He's doing his own thing. I've never been a heel in my whole career. Probably the only time that was kind of heelish was Filthy Animals. Overall, he's done his own thing. I can't give him any advice on how to become a heel. So he's learned that on his own, and he's figured it out on his own, which makes me feel very proud.
What does your daughter think of heel Dominik? I mean, she grew up with him. They had that sibling rivalry. Is she like, I saw this in him the whole time, or is she just as surprised as anyone else?
She still says he's still a douchebag, and he's always been that way. So every now and then she goes, Dom takes his role too seriously. He thinks the same character he's on TV, he has to be at home. I'm just going to slap him. You do what you got to do. So, Dom has always been that way around the house. Very spontaneous with his remarks, very gritty. But overall, I think he gets a lot of that from my wife, because my wife is like that as well.
I know you mentioned when we spoke last month, she's the Dodgers fan, right? And you're the Padres fan, is that correct?
My daughter's a Dodger fan.
She's a Dodgers fan. Are you the Padres fan or no?
I'm a Padres fan,
okay,
yes.
So the other way around. Gotcha.
Yes, yeah.
They're 1-2 right now, right, in the league?
Yes. We're right behind. The connection I've had with the Padres over the years has been incredible. To be able to be at the games and take it way back to being able, because as a kid, my dad used to bring me to the Padres games. And I remember one time specifically that I was able to bring him because I was throwing the first pitch, and we ran into Tony Gwynn, rest in peace. And was able to get a picture with my dad, Tony Gwynn, and myself. And that to me is legendary, man. Tony Gwynn is Padres 1000. Yeah.
That's awesome. And they're doing so well right now, so it's cool
They
to
are.
see. Hopefully it
Right.
continues throughout the rest of the season. I know you also mentioned when we spoke last month in the Mania thing that Brandon Moreno, when I asked you like who from the wrestling world would do well in WWE, UFC fighter Brandon Moreno, I thought you had mentioned would excel really, really well. Obviously coming up soon, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight coming up. Any stake in that? Obviously Logan Paul's in WWE right now. He beat you for the United States Championship, so some bad
Yeah.
blood there. Your thoughts on the fight and who you might see it going over, so to speak?
I don't know, man. The Pauls have a lot of hungry desire to succeed and are very good athletes overall. Look at Logan's growth in wrestling, man. I don't think I've ever seen anyone pick up so fast as Logan has. You know, we've had a lot of celebrities and athletes from their sports coming into our world, and you know, they might come in 1-2 shots and do okay. But like to see Logan succeed as good as he has is amazing. And to see Jake as well, you also have to put the fact that they're throwing all their effort and time onto becoming great. And I know Jake is very serious about what he's doing. Do I have a winner for that fight? That's a hard one. That's really hard. Tyson will always be Tyson.
He's WWE Hall of Famer. It's hard to bet against Tyson.
Yeah.
He's obviously a legend in his own right. But mentioning Brandon Moreno, got that Tijuana connection, obviously. You know, WWE traveling all over the world for these PLEs. As we wrap up here, we got the Saudi Arabia show, obviously, like I mentioned, King and Queen of the Ring this weekend. You guys were just in France a couple weeks back, Berlin in a couple months. It just doesn't end, and these atmospheres are amazing. When do you think, and I mean, the answer is obviously yes, you want to see it, a WWE PLE in Mexico, whether it be Tijuana or wherever in Mexico? I feel like it's got to be inevitable. I mean, there's such a rich wrestling history there. It hasn't happened yet, but it's got to be inevitable, though, you think?
I'm hoping that it happens within the next 3 years. I think my people deserve something as good as a PLE. So I'm truly hoping. I mean, we have a huge stadium over there, Estadio Azteca, which I believe is being remodeled and should be done sometime next year. I think the fans would go crazy and enjoy it. Mexico has always been, you know, an incredible crowd for wrestling. And what better than to pay it off with WWE coming over there and giving them something special as a PLE.
I look forward to it, Ray. Thanks so much for the time, man. Eddie Guerrero doc coming up this weekend, pay-per-view on Saturday as well. Ray, always a great time chatting with you, and I'll be sure to show you that tweet the next time I see you in person.
Thank you very much, man. Viva la raza.
Big thanks to Ray for the time. He was outstanding. Like I said earlier, be sure to check out the article version of the interview dropping tomorrow on Bleacher Report and the video version over at youtube.com/WrestleRant. Now we throw it to my conversation with Mr. Marceau, breaking down a very busy past week in the world of wrestling. Mr. Marceau, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing good. No, it was a good long weekend, and like you said, we were just talking before we started recording. My days are mixed up. Today is Thursday. I feel like today feels like Friday because we had the extra day, obviously, on Monday. But besides that, doing good.
That's good. No, it does feel like a Friday right now, and it is pretty crazy, too, because we had the 2 pay-per-views last weekend. Monday was an off day. Raw obviously still happened. Still a lot of news coming out of that show. Even Tuesday's NXT, which we'll get into. AEW news as far as all that sort of stuff goes. So we'll get into all of it. We'll start with the small stuff first. Not a full match breakdown, but I do want to get your thoughts on last weekend's King and Queen of the Ring pay-per-view. Only a 5-match card, 6 if you include the pre-show. I thought it was a perfectly solid 3-hour show. Another really good B show. The lively crowd in Jeddah. Very good main event between Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul. We have a new Women's World Champion in Liv Morgan, a new King of the Ring crowned, a Queen of the Ring crowned, and Gunther and Nia Jax, respectively. What were your overall thoughts on the pay-per-view last Saturday?
Solid show, predictable, but I thought everything predictably made sense. So nothing like I was upset about. I thought was kind of dumb. I like the finish of Nia and Lyra specifically. Kind of made Lyra look good in defeat, trying to powerbomb Nia with her just hitting her with with the drop in the corner. I thought that was like done perfectly, and it looked devastating. I don't know. Lara's ribs were taped up; they could be bruised. I don't know. That looked devastating.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was probably one of the best finishes I've seen in a while. And then the men, we had the clunky. Gunther didn't really have his shoulders down for Orton. So, but I'm glad Gunther won. Glad Nia won, just with the story they're telling. Liv finally winning had to happen. Like the Dominik interference or involvement, because obviously it's been rumored or we've seen it in the background, her and Dominik talking, coming out of the locker room together. So I guess we finally got that kind of payoff. And like you said, the main event was good. Predictable outcome, but I thought it was still an overall good match.
Within hours of us finishing recording last week, it was announced by WWE via Triple H, and the clip kind of went out within hours, like I said, of us recording, and Triple H had announced it in Jeddah last week ahead of the pay-per-view, that the winners of the King of the Ring tournament and the Queen of the Ring tournament would be getting title shots, but not just title shots anytime, any place, anywhere, but specifically at SummerSlam. That is what you suggested very primarily, very specifically, a couple of weeks ago. And my thing was, and they've done that before, obviously not routinely. They did it a few times in the 90s. I know Owen Hart won King of the Ring and then faced Bret Hart at SummerSlam. I didn't know that was the point of why he won King of the Ring. And then it was announced that he would challenge for the championship because he won King of the Ring. I did not know that. I forgot about Mabel. I tried to forget about that shit. I wasn't watching back then, but Mabel won King of the Ring in 95 and then challenged for the World Championship at SummerSlam. I have no idea why, because he was fucking terrible. Rest in peace, but he was pretty bad. I know they did the same thing with Brock Lesnar in 2002. So they did it for a few years in the 90s. They went away from it, got back to it with Brock, and then the pay-per-view disappeared. They never did it again. But you had said, what if they do the title shots at SummerSlam to give these tournaments some stakes? And I said, I don't know if they want to book out that far, because the pay-per-view's not for another 2.5 months, and they might have other plans in mind. For example, I thought Drew, I'm kind of convinced otherwise now, I thought Drew might win the World Heavyweight Championship at Clash of the Castle, which we now know is official. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest for the title on that show in Glasgow, so McIntyre will be a massive babyface in front of those fans. But I thought Drew might win there and then hold on to the championship until at least SummerSlam, where he would face CM Punk and hopefully beat him there too. I think we are still getting Drew and Punk by SummerSlam. I think Punk will hopefully be cleared by then. Obviously wouldn't be for the World Heavyweight Championship now because Gunther is guaranteed to be getting a shot. So your thoughts on the fact they added some stakes last minute. They should have added them weeks ago, but better late than never. Kind of setting the stage for what we know is going to be happening at the pay-per-view this year with both Nia and Gunther getting world title shots.
No, I think it makes sense. I think when they did it before, you just got like the crown and the scepter. And then you basically just get the moniker of king or of queen. It doesn't really do anything. And I guess it kind of, depending on the person, like when Zelina and Xavier Woods got it, kind of like propped them up a little bit more. They're obviously featured a little bit more prominent on TV. But for guys like Gunther, like Nia, like clearly at like the mid-card to main event level, that's kind of like the little last jolt they need to get to the main event. So I think it makes sense. I think it makes the tournament like more prestigious. There's actually something to wrestle for. A title shot, which obviously Nia wants to, like, that's kind of like the goal is to be world champion. So you win this prestigious tournament, you get a shot at your world champion at this big event in the summer. So I think it's a good idea. I liked when they did it with Brock. I thought it was kind of dumb that I guess they stopped really doing the pay-per-view, but I thought it was a kind of good way to keep it going into the summer. So I like it. I think it makes sense. And a tournament with no stakes is kind of like, I don't know. I don't even know the analogy, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, okay, yeah. Like it doesn't mean that much. So I'm glad they finally put stakes on King and Queen of the Ring.
Does this guarantee that Drew McIntyre is not winning the World Championship in a couple of weeks and that we are probably indeed getting Damian Priest and Gunther at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight Championship?
I mean, it really just depends on if Punk's cleared or not. I think they will do Punk and Drew at SummerSlam if he is cleared. So if he wins, then clearly Punk's not cleared yet, and they'll do him and Gunther. Punk has said that the rehab's been better and should be back earlier. So I don't know, maybe we get Punk tossing Drew at Clash, and that's kind of how we get them at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Even Damian and Gunther doesn't overly, like...
No.
I don't know, I wouldn't say it's the sexiest match of all time. It's probably one of the unsexiest matches of all time. Not because of Gunther. I love Gunther. I don't know, they're both heels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Gunther came off kind of more of a babyface on Raw than Damian in their little back and forth promo. But I mean, I guess it's just an easy person for him to beat and hold the belt. And then after SummerSlam, they go right to Berlin, which is near his homeland of Austria. So, I mean, I think regardless, Gunther will win the belt at SummerSlam. So, I just think it'll probably at this point be him and Priest.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty dumb if they had Gunther walk into SummerSlam, lose, and then walk into Bash in Berlin and not be the World Heavyweight Champion. Now, could they have Damian retain at SummerSlam and then face him again at Bash in Berlin and have Gunther win there? I mean, I guess that is very possible. I would just put the belt on him at SummerSlam. It's pretty clear that the Judgment Day is on its last leg. The Damian Priest is not a part of this whole Liv Morgan thing because it's clearly been Balor, McDonough, and Dom. All not conspiring against Damian, but they've been doing their own thing with Liv. Damian clearly has no idea what they're doing or what's going on. He's not in the fold there. So it might be kind of setting the stage and planting the seeds for his future upcoming exit from the group is what I'm trying to say. He should still be world champion by SummerSlam. I think to have Drew win it at Clash would be the better move because they're in his home country. He lost the Clash last time. I think having Punk cost Drew again, I'm not a big fan of that. We just saw it at WrestleMania. I don't really love that idea, but I guess it furthers that feud, keeps the feud relevant. Okay. Not a big fan of it, but, as long as the end game is Gunther becoming World Heavyweight Champion, I'm all for it. Nia Jax, again, I really don't hate the idea. You mentioned it was the right call for her to win, too. She's been doing some really good work. I got to give her credit since she came back to the company late last year. I've said that here on the show before, and we kind of agree about that. We definitely agree on that. Do you think Nia Jax could be who will ultimately dethrone Bayley as the WWE Women's Champion at SummerSlam this year?
At this point, I'd say so. Like we said, she's done great work since she's been back. I thought she looked good throughout the tournament. I really like this match with her and Lyra. Like I said, I think the finish itself came off really well. I like Bayley as champion. It's kind of just been there at this point. I mean, she had the thing with Naomi and Tiffany. You don't really see much of her since or doing anything important. So, I mean, I think she's also just kind of better in chase than as champion. So, I think Nia beating her. Maybe get Jade beating Nia down the line because they had that match in the tournament. Maybe they could connect it there. But I think Nia is the right person at this point to take the belt off her.
Yeah, I think they're probably setting up for Bayley and Piper Niven for the championship at Clash, if I had to take a guess, in Glasgow, because she's from Scotland as Piper. So I think they're probably going to do that match. I know they're doing SmackDown in the same arena, a lot like they did with Backlash in Paris, or Lyon, rather. And they also did SmackDown in Saudi Arabia for the first time last week, ahead of the pay-per-view on Saturday. So I think they're doing the same thing with Clash. They could do Bayley and Piper on SmackDown, but I would rather see it on the pay-per-view itself. So we'll see. But Liv Morgan,
Can I circle back on something? You mentioned Drew. You didn't want Punk costing Drew then. At Clash. If Drew wins, then I guess how would you get the belt on a babyface if you're gonna do Drew and Punk at SummerSlam?
That's the problem. That's why. I mean, I like the idea. Like I texted you of announcing beforehand that King of the Ring would be for SummerSlam title shots, because it kind of is like the equivalent to me anyway of winning the Rumble, then you get a title shot at Mania 2.5 months later. I kind of like that it's long-term booking, but it kind of fucks up with the whole Gunther thing because I think Drew should win the championship, but I don't think there's a way where you can win the championship and then also at SummerSlam then go on to face CM Punk and Gunther, because I think he would have to face Gunther. Gunther is the number one contender. Unless they run back Gunther and Orton before then and he loses his title shot, do you think that's a possibility at all? Because you mentioned earlier, Gunther kind of won in fluky fashion. So I don't think you get the belt on a babyface before SummerSlam. I do think Damian by SummerSlam will still be champion, and by that point will probably be leaning babyface, even though if he's not officially a babyface by that point in time.
Yeah, like you said, but I guess how would Drew lose at Clash then? Because I feel like you shouldn't lose clean, obviously.
No, I agree. I don't like the Punk idea, but that's probably the best thing they have is having him cost Drew, because he definitely should not be losing clean.
I agree.
I mean, it makes sense. I'm just not a fan of it because we just saw that at Mania, and people are going to boo Punk for that, so that's not really the reaction they want, but at the same time, that's the reaction they're going to get, and they probably know that because they're in McIntyre's native Scotland, so it makes sense.
I guess it just really depends on what they want to do at SummerSlam, because if we're getting like this Judgment Day dissension, like maybe we get Finn and Damian at SummerSlam. So then Damian wouldn't be the champion. Like they said, maybe like Drew wins it and he somehow loses it to some kind of babyface. And that's who Gunther faces instead. I don't know. I just don't want to see Drew. I feel like it's Drew's moment to win at Clash. So like I feel like it would suck for him just to lose there.
I agree, but I don't know.
He lost last time at Clash.
So I was okay, as we've discussed before. Yeah, exactly. I was okay with the idea of Drew winning it at Clash and then losing it at SummerSlam or soon after, a couple months later, to Gunther or whoever. I kind of thought that, honestly, my whole idea was Drew would win it at Clash, and then he would face Punk at SummerSlam, beat him at SummerSlam to retain the championship, assuming Punk's even cleared by then. And then he would go on to Bash in Berlin and then lose it to Gunther there. Maybe Punk cost him the championship, whatever the hell you want to do. But they can't do that because Gunther is getting the shot at SummerSlam. And I think it would be overkill if Damian were to lose it before SummerSlam to Drew, and then Drew has to lose it to someone in the next couple of months to a babyface, as you mentioned, and then Gunther's got to win. I just feel like that's way too much. I don't know. I guess we'll see where they go with it. And, they have a couple different options, but there's no one really strong option, I think, for the World Heavyweight Championship picture. But Liv Morgan is the new Women's World Champion. She won the championship on Saturday, beating Becky Lynch. She retained the championship on Monday, beating Becky Lynch again. Doing the whole Dom kiss thing at the end there, which did not make TV in a lot of markets. It certainly did where I'm from. They didn't make the TV here. I had to go back and see it on social media, which was fucking annoying. It did make some. I heard from some people in Canada, the West Coast, they all saw it. I don't know. They fucked up. I don't know how the fuck that doesn't make the air. They really messed up the timing of that. That was complete bullshit. Because it was a massive storyline development, one of the best parts of the show, and it didn't even make the air, so I don't think it was intentional either. But regardless, your thoughts on Liv Morgan finally becoming champion, which was the right move to make, obviously, and the storyline that she might be aligned with Dominik Mysterio going forward, or what they might be going for there.
Yeah, I like it so far. Like I said, I'm glad she beat Becky. Obviously, big Becky mark here. But I'm glad Liv finally got her due. I will say I wish she kind of won a little bit more, like, dominant or, like, not as fluky. Like, that was kind of what killed her run last time. I guess she was a babyface last time, but, like, when she faced Ronda those times, like, she was, like, slipping on banana peels winning over here.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, the same thing, like, Dominik slid the chair and she hit her with the DDT1. He fucking hit the door, or Braun hit him into the door that hit Becky and she escaped the cage.
Yeah, that was goofy, yeah.
I guess she is a heel, so it is a little different. Like, obviously, it's kind of hard to get behind a babyface that's, like, not really winning. So I guess a heel, it's a little bit different, so maybe that dynamic will help her. But I think being aligned with Dominik's nice. I really don't care for her being with the other people in Judgment Day. I know, like, they teased her talking to JD and Finn, but, like, I don't know. I think her and Dominik's fine. I don't think you need to add them on with her. I mean, I think obviously the stories between her and Rhea, Dominik's like the most like Rhea's guy, so I think it makes sense in that aspect. But I mean, I don't think you need to add the other like kind of flunkies in the Judgment Day to it.
Do you think that she's actually going to be in a relationship on TV with Dom, or is she just using Dom to kind of tease tension within the group, so when Rhea comes back, Judgment Day is kind of in shambles?
It could be that. I mean, she kind of is like a crazier character, so it can maybe like like kind of like manipulating Dominik into thinking she's like into him to, like you said, like cause more dissension in the Judgment Day or hurt Rhea in the group.
Might be a custody of Dominik match coming at SummerSlam, part 2, 20 years later.
I'm down.
With Liv and Rhea, I would definitely be down with that. World Championship, the Women's World Championship on one rung and Dominik on the other, or custody of Dominik, him in a cage or some shit. I mean, it's definitely possible.
Make sure you get Angie in the front row.
Yeah, Angie's got to be there too. He and Ray actually just recently celebrated the anniversary, so it's definitely timely. But no, I'd be down for that. No, I'm liking where they're going with it. I think it's intriguing. It's got me looking forward to seeing where it's going next. I think that and the Alpha Academy stuff is some of the best stuff they're doing on Raw right now. We'll get back to Becky in a second, but on the subject of Alpha Academy, your thoughts on Chad Gable? He came up short on Saturday, failed to win the Intercontinental Championship, but they're doing a really good job of progressing this whole Alpha Academy thing, with Otis becoming kind of the endearing babyface again, people rallying behind him. First of all, your thoughts on the angle, what they did on Saturday and Monday, and where you think it's going from here?
I think it's good, like you said. I think it's kind of like a bigger storyline and on top of a development of Chad himself. I get what they're doing with Otis, but we've seen it once. I don't think he's ever gonna be a breakout babyface. So I like the attempt, but we've already seen this with the whole Mandy and him, and they put the briefcase on him and then they took it off him and they never really recovered from there. So I like what they're doing. I like the heel Gable. I hope it leads to him with the Creeds. But I think, like you said, it's probably one of the more intriguing things they're doing on Raw right now.
I think so. I think I'm looking forward to seeing if Gable will become champion first and then face Otis, or if they do Gable and Otis first, because Zayn was still involved in that segment on Monday, and he also played his role really, really well. I do think the end game should still be Gable becoming Intercontinental Champion. It should probably happen on the sooner side, but they want to kind of detour and do Gable and Otis first. They may not want to rush into that. That might be the bigger attraction, actually. They might want to save that, save it for SummerSlam and have that be for the Intercontinental Championship. It could be Gable and Otis ultimately for the championship, at SummerSlam. Do you think? Is there a possibility that they could be building to Otis beating Gable for that belt instead?
I don't love that idea.
Listen, I'm not saying I love the idea, but I think Otis is going to be over enough to a point where it might be Otis 2020 all over again, where he had all that momentum going into WrestleMania with Mandy Rose. Pandemic happens, all that shit goes away. They gave him Money in the Bank. That was fucking stupid, but... other than that, though, I think he was doing some really good work going into that show. It kind of feels like he's on that same trajectory right now.
Yeah, but I also feel like, I just feel like as a booking-wise, to put the belt on him when there's other people extremely more over and better than him that they still haven't put a belt on, it wouldn't sit right when they're putting a belt on Otis right now, regardless how LA Knight doesn't even have a belt yet. He's been over for 2 fucking years. I don't understand how you could... And, I would say Jey Uso as well, but I feel like LA Knight's more of a private thing. He could be a main event guy, and you haven't put the belt on him yet, and he's over as Rover, but, you're going to put the belt on Otis? Come on.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
That's booking malpractice. That's something Tony Khan would do.
I think Otis will be over enough to a point where he doesn't need a championship, whereas someone like a Knight or a Jey should probably have a belt by now. Otis doesn't need a singles championship. He didn't need Money in the Bank either. It's okay, this was cute, but you took it a step too far. But I think if they can continue to, properly feature him, I think that's totally fine. But back to Becky Lynch, though. Like I said, Liv Morgan beat her for the championship on Saturday. She beat her to retain the championship on Monday. And then this coming Saturday, June 1st, apparently her contract is expiring. Per all the usual... media outlets of, Fightful, PW Insider, or whatever. She is not yet re-signed. Now, could she have, and we're just not aware? Very possible. But it sounds like she might be taking time off starting Saturday, and might not be aligned to any one company for the next little while, whether that be weeks, months, we don't know. Maybe she wants to have another kid, we just don't know. So, what's your assessment of the whole Becky Lynch situation, and where are you seeing her going next, and what you see her doing next?
It was rumored after WrestleMania she was going to take time off, and then obviously Rhea got hurt, and they kind of pushed her back in, won the belt, and kind of continued for a couple more months. So, I think it's more just taking some time away. Obviously they have a daughter. Seth just re-signed, so I don't really see her going anywhere else. I think if she's going to continue to wrestle, she would stay with WWE. But I also think, like I said, maybe she wants to have another kid, or maybe she just wants to take some time off the road. The schedule can be a lot, especially if you have a young child. So maybe she wants to take a few months off, maybe a year, who knows, and come back. But I think at this point she's kind of earned the right to do whatever she wants. And also, how can I miss if you don't go away? I feel like the heart grows fonder, and I think if she takes some good amount of time to come off, she can kind of come back and rejuvenate what she's already done. So I think she's earned the right to do what she wants, but if she comes back to wrestling, I think it's WWE all day.
Is there any chance she can go to AEW if she's contractually free starting Saturday?
She could, but it wouldn't make sense to do it.
Yeah, what would be her incentive, you think, if she were to go there? Obviously, I think WWE would match the money. There's no incentive at all, you think?
No, because she wouldn't be able to bring her name. Mm-hmm. And then she basically would have to do all this work to get back over. And I just don't know. I don't think there's any incentive for her specifically to do it. They match the money. She would lose she would lose what makes her special. She couldn't have the same name. The schedule might be lighter, but her husband doesn't work there. So it's not like, I don't know, I feel like the most people, like, there's something going on, so it's like, oh, they got released, so they went there because they had nothing else. Like, why would she go there when her husband works at a different company? I don't know. I feel like for her, their specific situation, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance. I mean, I think they would give her a sweet offer, obviously. I said this yesterday in hashtag, but I think, honestly, there might have been a better chance of her trying something different and just saying, fuck it, a couple of months ago before Mercedes came in. If Mercedes wasn't there, I would say maybe there's a bigger chance, but they kind of have their crown jewel in Mercedes, whether you like her or not. She's the person they're building that division around. So I think with Mercedes being there, I'm not even really sure what they would even do with Becky Lynch in AEW. I mean, they could obviously have her come in and beat Toni Storm, but that's kind of a fuck you to the rest of the division. So I don't see it happening. I don't really think it needs to happen. I think you would agree with that too.
Yeah, I mean, I just think all her name is worth is in WWE. I think it just, I mean, like you said, I guess like she could get like a lighter schedule, get paid a shit ton of money, but she could still get paid a shit ton of money in WWE, be with her husband. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I just feel like you would have to put all this, like, she actually would probably have to do more to kind of like get herself over, because obviously people know her as who she is, but like, you're not, like, since they own the trademark, it's a lot harder. Like, at least Sasha, like, she left and like, kind of did her own thing, new name, like, kind of like built this little brand on her own. Like, Becky would have to do all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think she could still come in and be a big star, even if she's Rebecca Quinn. I mean, I don't know if she could be...
No, I agree.
You know?
Like, I just feel like the money, like, why would you leave something if, like, I just feel like, why would you leave something so good when there's no reason to?
I mean, I thought the same thing about Cody Rhodes, too, to be honest. So, I mean, anything can happen.
But Becky's on a totally different level.
Then Cody Rhodes was in AEW?
At the time, no.
Well, yeah.
Cody, I think that was a totally different thing, too. Like, I think the whole EVP thing didn't really work out the way he wanted to. I don't think him, the Bucks, and all them were, like, on the same mindset, whatever. But, like, I'm saying more, like, for Becky, like, I don't see the incentive to leave. I feel like your bread's buttered great there. Why would you leave? Like, why would you leave? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there could be other...
It's not like she'd get paid X. Like, she's going to... Realistically, she'll probably get paid the most women's wrestlers ever made.
She should be, yeah.
Okay, so, like, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't make any... I think, to myself, I don't think it makes any sense for her to leave WWE. But, I mean... Like you said, there is a chance. I just don't think it's a high one.
No, I mean, I think anything's possible. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because I'm just trying to play up the possibility that it could happen. I don't think it should, because, I mean, again, even with it, it's a different situation. I do want to acknowledge that. But when Edge left WWE, another guy that was a WWE lifer, we thought, obviously he wasn't. He's only got a couple years left. He wanted to go mix it up with some new people, wanted to wrestle more. He's gotten both of those things. He got himself fucking hurt in the process, but we'll get to that in a moment. You know, I don't think Becky's in the tail end of her career. I think she has a lot more to offer. She's made comments before. I think even in that Ariel Helwani interview that she did a few months ago, she even said, I'm going to be involved with this company like for the rest of my life in some form or fashion. So, I mean, she could always take time off while under a new deal with WWE. I mean, she could have just re-signed by now, even if she was just taking a couple months off. She, like Drew, I think Drew could at some point take time off while still under a new deal. I don't know. It is interesting that Rollins re-signed, though, and she did not. I was not expecting that. Maybe she still will. I think she still will. But maybe we see her back by SummerSlam, and then she faces Lyra or Io Sky or some shit. I don't know. I think that Raw division could use her, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think now that she's gone, I mean, you have Liv. They have Liv.
Not Rhea for now.
Yeah, they basically have Liv at this point. I mean, that wasn't a starter, folks. I know they have Liv Morgan. It's pretty light besides that. I mean, I'm a big Lyra guy, but obviously she just hasn't been booked. She's new, so she's being booked well, but like they have her. I guess I forgot Io.
Yeah, Damage
Io
Control.
Is also big, so I'll take that back. I recant all the Livs. I showed disrespect to Io Sky, but besides her and Io, they have no one really established. I mean, Rhea's hurt. Becky's gone now.
Then you have like 4 different female tag teams.
Exactly. And like, I like Kyrie, but they really haven't like pushed her as a single. I like Dakota, but kind of same sign as Kyrie. We have Zoe and Shayna. Like, been there, done that.
Maxine Dupree? I don't know.
Maxine, yeah. I mean, I think at this point we'll probably continue to get. I'm assuming we'll probably get Io and Lyra again, just because she just beat Kyrie. But like at this point, I feel like Liv's just kind of waiting for Rhea.
Oh, I think you could do Liv and Lyra in the meantime because Liv punched her. So I mean, you can go off of that.
Yeah, that's true. And then we could do that again. But I mean, looking from SmackDown to Raw, the especially now that Becky's gone, there's a big gap on Raw.
Yeah.
I mean, SmackDown's loaded.
Yeah, I mean, SmackDown's got a lot of women. I could see them doing a trade or something. I mean, they could always use Bianca and Jade on Raw because they are the tag team champions and they can float, but I wouldn't have them on Raw challenging for, like, the Women's World Championship or some shit. I don't think that makes sense.
No, they should only be on Raw doing tag team stuff.
Yeah. So maybe they trade someone like, maybe not a Naomi, but like a Tiffany maybe, because SmackDown's got Tiffany, Naomi, Jade, Bianca, Bayley obviously is champion. They're kind of making the most of the women they do have, so Raw with Becky and Rhea being gone is a big blow to that division. Thank God they called up Lyra when they did, but they still need some fresh faces in the mix that are not, that are not Ivy. I mean, I like Ivy Nile, actually. That's not a slight on her, but Maxine Dupree. I like Isla, not Isla Dawn. I don't really give a shit about Isla, but like Kaylee Ray, she should be on her own at this point. Like, her being in the tag team does no one any favors whatsoever.
No, I agree. I mean, that's someone but that's the thing. It's like that's someone that they should be pushing. But the problem is, like, she's been treated like a joke for so long. Like, it would take a lot of rehab to get her like as like a singles player. But they also haven't done they haven't even been on Raw since they got switched the brand. I know she's been on main event, but I mean, I feel like now with Becky out, they should. It's like that's the thing I don't get with her specifically. It's like she's good. We know she's good. So like, why aren't you pushing her? Like, why is like Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree getting all these opportunities? We just aren't that good when you have someone that's proven NXT UK champion, clearly good. I just don't understand where. Like, I don't see how you fumble that.
Yeah, they were on Raw this week, not in a match, but they quickly interacted with Shayna and Zoe because they weren't in that 4-way number 1 contenders match last week, and they're like, oh, you're not the real number 1 contenders if you can't beat us. I'm like, again, but who is this stuff really for? They're all heels. No one cares. I mean, they're just teams fighting for the sake of, for nothing. I mean, for belts that don't mean anything. I think if they had a mid-card women's belt, I feel like that floated between the brands, at least Raw and SmackDown. It would be, I mean, we've talked about this before, it's old hat, but I just feel like that would be a much greater use to that division, both on Raw and SmackDown, than this tag team bullshit for teams that just don't mean anything.
I mean, I mean, no lies detected. I just feel like the tag team division at this point, you've tried. I'll give it to them. They've tried. It's just never gonna work. At least they've tried. Like when Vince did it, you never really saw it. Like we have tag team matches all the time. It just doesn't work. I don't know. Like they just need to cut the cord at this point. Like I said, do like a traveling mid-card women's champion from Raw to SmackDown. It's just the tag team thing just doesn't work. It doesn't. They've tried so hard since Triple H taken over, and it just hasn't clicked at all.
Yeah, they had their opportunity when Triple H first took over to just dump them in the trash because they were already off TV anyway when Sasha and Naomi walked out, but they had to bring them back, so they really did not have to do that. Any thoughts on Double or Nothing? Did you catch? I assume you didn't catch the whole show, but what if you did watch any of it, your thoughts on the pay-per-view itself?
I caught a little bit of it. I thought it was pretty good for what I saw. I mean, MJF coming back obviously was
big highlight. Yeah,
probably the biggest highlight. I mean, that was good. I'm trying to think what else. The main event was decent or not the main event, because that was garbage.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you said that.
Swerve and Christian was good. I was going to say, I was like, that match was trash. Swerve winning was good. I mean, Mercedes getting her moment. Yay. Like I said, for what I saw, I thought it was pretty solid. Like I said, I thought MJF coming back was obviously the biggest talking point for me. But, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a good show. I mean, just a couple Spark Notes version notes here. But the main event, I'm not a fan of. If you enjoy that sort of stuff, that's totally fine. I know you don't. I certainly don't. A lot of people will. It was certainly a spectacle. I've said that much. That's really about it. Some of that shit is just downright dumb, but, it is what it is. Back to the dumb thing in a second, but like the pay-per-view being 4.5 hours long, 6.5 hours, or 6 hours, actually, if you include the pre-show. It's just fucking ridiculous. Like, I would complain about this with WWE too. It's probably different if you're on the West Coast and don't have to deal with it. I know the UK routinely deals with this because it goes on later there. I'm just speaking selfishly from an East Coast standpoint. No pay-per-view should be ending at 12:30. I don't give a fuck if it's Mania, Double or Nothing, or what. I mean, that is just dumb. I could tell you at least 2 or 3 different matches on this show, Chris Jericho, that should not have been even on the card. It was just a waste of time. Like the Orange Cassidy Trent Beretta thing, the match I thought was fine. Cassidy won again in the same fashion he beat Trent in a couple weeks ago. And then you have Trent joining the Don Callis family like anyone gives a shit about that faction on Wednesday's Dynamite. Like, you already had the guy lose twice, so Don Callis looks like even more of a loser by recruiting a guy that can't win a fucking match. So, I don't know. That just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I thought the overall show was good, though. Speaking of dumb things, like I said, Edge did get hurt, Adam Copeland, in that barbed wire steel cage match. They did Anarchy in the Arena. They did an FTW Rules match, which was basically a hardcore triple threat and barbed wire steel cage. Like, do people not fucking realize how excessive all that shit is? It's ridiculous. And not only that, the match was fine, but then he got hurt. He jumped off the top of the cage, couldn't do a splash because he was wrapped in barbed wire. That was his first mistake. Malachi was. So he just goes for like a weak-looking elbow that looks like shit, and he broke his fucking leg in the process because the guy's, 50 years old. And I love Edge. I do. I love Adam Copeland. I think he's had a great run, and I wish him nothing but the best. But, dude, that shit is just selfish. Again, hurry back soon. I get it. Best wishes to the guy. No ill will towards him, but it was a dumb spot. It's on him, and it's on AEW. It's on Tony Khan for letting him do that dumb shit, for letting him go out there, jeopardize the championship, which they've since had to vacate. They're now out another big star. They've already lost a lot of talent in the last 6 months. Eddie Kingston's out for a fucking year. They just lost Adam Copeland for a while. Probably won't be at Wembley. And again, the whole title run, not for nothing, but like the whole point was to kind of lose it to someone like Jack Perry. Can't even do that. So like the show suffers, the title suffers, we suffer as fans, the fans at Wembley suffer. Everyone kind of suffers. Edge obviously literally suffers from the injury. But the whole thing could have just been avoided if he didn't do the fucking spot. He said he came up with that. I don't know what my body's capable of at 50. Okay, dude, like, you made a mistake. But Tony Khan should have said, hey, maybe we should not do this. And he let him do it anyway. It's like, this shit happens all the fucking time with this company. They do dumb shit. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. I just don't get why this shit keeps happening with this company. I like the match, and I like Edge, but I thought that shit was totally unnecessary.
I like that line. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That's good. But no, like you said, we've said it for a long time. A lot of these bumps that these people are getting injured on or like getting hurt by are things that there's so, like you said, there's barbed wire this, there's anarchy, like there's so much shit going on to begin with. These bumps are things that no one remembers. No one ever remembers them. Mm-hmm. But like, these guys are then getting hurt doing this stupid shit that no one's going to remember anyways. Like, if he didn't do that, the match would have been fine and we would have moved on. Like, he didn't have to do that. That was stupid. Like you said, he was stupid thing. What, the fucking pop the boys in the back that you're 50 years old and doing an elbow drop at the top rope? Well, who's laughing now? Because now you're fucking hurt and broke your leg because you're an idiot. And like you said, Tony Khan should have been like, you know what, this is a dumb idea, so let's not do it. But they do a lot of dumb ideas that he lets them do anyway. So, I mean, I think an elbow drop off a cage is more safe or better than a flamethrower. So, I mean, what the fuck are we doing?
Seriously, man. Even like I go back to that glass spot from Revolution. Darby didn't get hurt on that. He got hurt from something completely else. He broke his foot coming out of that, Revolution. Not Revolution. Was there? Yeah, it was Revolution pay-per-view back in March. But that dumbass glass panel shot during the Revolution match, Sting also did a lot of dumb shit where, again, it looked cool. That was different because it looked good. Not that it's entirely different. I'm not overly defending it, but I'm just saying, like, he was very lucky he didn't get hurt. I think MJF did something. I don't remember what it was. Again, like you said, you never remember the spot. But he did a spot during Full Gear, I think, where it was maybe a tombstone off the top rope. I don't know. You'd have to go back and watch it. But he did something really, really dumb, and he tore his shoulder. I mean, not that that's, I think, the reason why he had to leave for a while, but I'm sure it played a factor. Like, this shit it can be totally avoided, so I don't know. I thought the whole thing was fucking stupid. It just could have been avoided. They just did not need to do that, and they did it anyway, and now they're down the TNT champion, so hopefully he's back at some point soon. Wishing him well, but hopefully that's a lesson, which it won't be. They'll continue to do it. It doesn't even matter, but it's not even worth discussing. They're just going to keep doing it. But I would love for it to be a lesson where they just don't do that again going forward. Last thing for you, Mr. Marceau, we saw on Tuesday's NXT, a show I don't really watch live anymore, but I caught up after the fact and was kind of spoiled by it because I didn't think anything major would happen on Tuesday. TNA Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace debuting. She was in the Rumble, but debuting on NXT as Roxanne Perez's next opponent for the NXT Women's Championship at Battleground next weekend. And Ethan Page, not from TNA. He spent time in TNA, but he's coming over from AEW and Ring of Honor. Left there earlier this month, and now he's apparently signed to an NXT WWE deal. So, your thoughts on the arrival of Ethan Page in WWE, if you think he can be a good fit there, and what Jordynne Grace being in NXT for the time being means as far as that collaboration between the two companies, NXT and TNA, and if we are indeed bound to see more of it per PW Insider.
Yeah, I think the whole TNA NXT thing makes sense for WWE. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense with TNA. For NXT, I feel like they kind of need a little bit more like jolt. They have taken a lot of people off NXT to the main roster, but like for TNA, it's like you're collabing with a developmental brand, like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's not the greatest rub of. It's not like they're working with Ron SmackDown, they're working with NXT, but I think for NXT itself, I think it's a positive. Like I said, I think they could use a little bit more star power. They've taken a lot of people from NXT that were over to the main roster, so I like that. And like you said, with Ethan Page, I feel like he's good. His run in AEW wasn't the greatest, but I think he could be someone that they can kind of replenish the pot with as well, and in NXT and give him like a fair shake and see like what he can do.
I'll take him as the NXT Championship #1 contender over Noam fucking Dar. So, he's certainly an improvement in that respect because they were just very much lacking in that main event scene. But, no, I think the WWE TNA stuff makes sense. I think it makes sense for TNA, too, because honestly, dude, they're not going to get any more buzz than they have right now. They had a chance earlier this year when they rebranded as TNA. They had a lot of momentum and shit. We talked about it at the time. I thought going back to TNA was kind of a step backward, but a lot of people liked it. Brought back nostalgia, whatever. They had the momentum. They fire Scott D'Amore. It really hasn't been the same since. I watch the shows. I enjoy the TNA shows, but there's just not a lot of buzz there as there has been for the past decade. It's been the case now for about 10 years, the lack of buzz around the product. If this brings buzz and more eyes to TNA, I think it's a plus. I think it's a win-win because WWE for the longest time would be like, hey, we're not going to acknowledge these other companies. We don't want to work with them. We don't want to give them free promotion. TNA, dude, as we all know, and it has been for a long time now, is not a fucking threat to WWE. So them acknowledging TNA, using people as they are, not renaming them, using their champions, calling them by their title names, I think it's totally fine. And I think it's going to get to a point where we could see people from WWE, at least from NXT, I think, on TNA shows. I don't know who that would be. Maybe I could see someone like an Natalya, who is a main roster talent, but I could see someone like an Natalya going in to work a match against Jordynne at like Slammiversary or something. Like that, I just think would be a great get for them. So I hope this sort of shit continues.
Yeah, I think depending on the right people, you can definitely do like a little switch and flopping around. Like so Natalya would be actually a good person who's just not really doing a lot with WWE, and let her go to TNA, and I think it's worth it. It's worth executing it. I think does it have to work? No, but I think it's worth a try.
Definitely too big of a name, but do you think AJ Styles, these rumors of him getting one more run in TNA? Not that it's going to happen, but I think I would personally love to see it, have him one last retirement run. He wouldn't retire in TNA, but just to go into the Hall of Fame and have a match of Bound for Glory or some shit, I think that'd be amazing.
He has to bring the old theme back. That's my only request.
He'd have to bring the old theme back. It would not fit his current persona at all, but that would be awesome, though. That would be sick.
So,
I don't expect it happening, but I would totally love to see it. Hopefully we do get more crossover in the weeks and months ahead, and it's an exciting time to be a fan for all these companies. We'll talk more about it next week here on the show, including NXT. I'll probably do NXT Battleground predictions if I remember. If not a big deal. It's not going to be a massive show, but I am looking forward more to the show than I was previously now that Jordynne Grace and Ethan Page are on it, so should be a solid time. But we'll talk more about that next week. New episodes every single week on all the usual podcast platforms. New episodes every single Thursday. Mr. Marceau, brother, have a great rest of your week/weekend, and I'll catch you next week, brother.
See you later, man.
Adios.
Join Graham, GSM Matthews, and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.